Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And one of my subscribers made me aware on the Facebook fan page that Scott Herman put out a video that they thought I would actually appreciate. And the truth is, I used to give Scott Herman a bit of a hard time, but a few years ago, he made a video doing some heavy beltless deadlifts and said he wanted to get his beltless deadlift up. That he had target numbers he wanted to reach on that lift. And so therefore, I eased up on Scott because I'm like, he's not just doing fluff and pump. This guy's actually trying to do some real lifting. I'm going to be nicer to him. This is actually setting a good example. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about the video he did. So in his video, you've got Scott Herman there, and he's like, hey, Jules guys, it's Scott Herman with ScottHermanFitness. I'm standing here shirtless. This is not a gay for pay. I'm showing you my pectorals. And if you want to build pectorals like this, guys, you need to do the barbell bench press and you need to do the weighted dips. That's how I built these pectorals. Also, guys, all these people are in the gym. They're always doing all this fluff exercises, telling everybody you got to do 10 different fluff exercises for muscle. But the truth is, guys, more is not always better. So the exercises you need to do are the exercises that let you lift the most weight for a lot of volume, so you can get muscle damage and muscle tension, mechanical tension. And so the exercises you should be spending most of your time doing are the barbell squat, the barbell deadlift, the barbell bench press, the barbell overhead press, weighted chin-ups, weighted dips, barbell rows, and maybe some barbell curls. And that's more or less what he said. Now he jumped into some other stuff in the video. He did kind of talk a little bit and throw a little fluff in and saying, yeah, if you're going to get bigger biceps, you should do some chin-ups, but you don't need to do 5 different bicep exercises. You could do 6 sets of barbell curls and 6 sets of incline curls and you're done. That if your barbells aren't trashed by then, you're probably not stimulating any other growth. And I was kind of like, well, I don't know that you really need to do that. And I'm not saying the barbell curl isn't a good exercise. I'm not saying the incline curl is not a good exercise. As far as actual bicep exercises go, those are actually near the top. In fact, I would probably say those are the best 2 isolation movements you could possibly do for your biceps, biomechanically speaking. Those are probably the 2 best. But kind of comes to that question of why do we need to isolate anything at all? Because he alludes to that again later in the video, which is again something I agree with him on. We'll get to that in a second. The question I would ask you is, what are either of those exercises going to do for your biceps that a weighted chin-up won't? Get stronger. Add another 20 pounds to your weighted chin-ups for 5 reps and watch how much your biceps grow. That will do just as much as you will get from doing endless amounts of curls. But, again, he also said to do the chin-up. He talked about getting stronger. So that's kind of the question I have. And the thing I always want to throw in there, when it comes to that, I'm sorry, guys, you can think whatever you want. People are entitled to their opinion. I have never, in my 20 years in the iron game, seen one single shred of verifiable scientific evidence that adding isolation movements on top of well-selected compounds adds any muscle. None. I've never seen it. If training volume is sufficient on the compounds. In other words, I have never seen a single study done ever spread out over time where a group of lifters did bench presses with sufficient volume who didn't gain just as much muscle in their triceps as the group who did the same thing and added tricep extensions, right? It's never been done in a lab because it doesn't seem to actually work. Isolation movements make muscles grow if you're not doing a compound movement for them, but if you get sufficient volume with compounds, there isn't any real evidence that proves that over the course of months you actually gain any additional muscle in those muscles that you isolate. The evidence isn't there, and it has been studied. There have been studies done trying to find that. So just throwing that part out there. Nova, calm down, buddy. I don't know what he's barking about. All my deliveries have come for the day. Shouldn't be anybody at the door. He Protect. He's a good doggo. Well, he's still a pupper, but he's working towards being a doggo. He's almost there. I think give him a few more steaks and some more pot roast, he might turn into a full-fledged doggo. But that's besides the point. Back to lifting. That's the other beautiful thing that he points out. He's talking about, well, you could go do a bunch of tricep kickbacks, but if you just do 3 sets of dips and then you go do some tricep kickbacks, you're getting less efficient work. That there is no way that a tricep kickback is going to give you as much tricep stimulation as doing another set of heavy weighted dips will. So even though he talked about, well, the isolation work, he still kind of alluded back to what I said. And that's the interesting point. When you have people out here who actually look at the science, who do have a lot of training experience, they're well versed in physiology, you always find those people coming back to, yeah, you can do isolation movements. I always said that for years, right? You can do isolation movements, but just make sure you do all your compounds first, right? We always say that because we don't want to let people know the other, and he still kind of pulled the same thing I have always done in the past of, well, you could do another set of the heavy compounds instead of the isolation movement. You're going to get more out of it, right? He still more or less said that. So there was a mixed message there, and as you can tell, Scott's right at the edge of wanting to say it, but he knows that so many bros out there think you actually have to isolate muscles that he doesn't want to cross that line. But you can tell based on what he said that he's read all the evidence there, and he kind of knows that weighted dip is going to build your triceps more than any isolation movement will. That you could just do more sets of weighted dips if you want more volume, right? That's all you have to do. Same thing, you could just do more weighted chin-ups, but maybe you're not strong enough to do any more weighted chin-ups. But then we kind of get to that point. What happens when you get to the point in a workout to where you're not strong enough to do weighted chins anymore? You go down to bodyweight chins and you're not strong enough to do those. Well, do you think your biceps have any muscle fibers left to recruit at that point? In other words, if you can only do 5 reps with a 45-pound plate on your weighted chin-ups, you hit that 5 reps. That's all you can do. You do it for another set. You start having to take the 45 off and go down to a 25, and before long you can only do 2 reps with your body weight. Your biceps are done. There is no further growth that you're going to stimulate. You've fatigued them. You've hit all the upper threshold fibers. You've exhausted all the upper threshold fibers. You think you're going to stimulate any more growth in that workout? No. Go home, eat some food, get some protein, get some carbs, get some sleep. So he's on the edge of saying that. But, we've had other people in the past who did come out and say it. You guys remember that Martin Burkham with his fuck around-itis article? And that's not spelled F-U-C-K, that's F-U-K. So there's no profanity in there. But he more or less said that. He's like, well, what do you think a curl is going to do for your biceps that a weighted chin-up isn't? It's a waste of time. And even Scott is standing here saying, well, it's all this fluff. You really need to focus on these other exercises. He's on the verge of breaking through and just saying it. What all the data suggests, what tons of lifters who've read the research, observed people for years, have all realized that isolation movements, more or less just there to inflame your connective tissue and make your tendons hurt. They don't stimulate as much total growth as you can get from compounds. You want to get bigger, do more big, heavy compounds. Do weighted body weight exercises. Find another barbell exercise to do. Save the isolation work for guys who are going to compete, who have one little lagging plane or angle they need to bring up for a bodybuilding show. And I can assure you that one little plane or angle that you're worried about isn't going to be noticed by a single girl out on the beach. And it's sure as hell not going to matter on a football field or in an MMA match. In fact, I always ask the guys who talk about they want to get better at sports, why are they even playing with dumbbells at all? Why aren't they doing power cleans and push presses? Throw those curls away and do some power cleans if you actually want to be an athlete who competes in a field sport or a contact sport. You shouldn't even be worried about that other stuff. You need to be getting explosive and powerful. When in doubt, if you play a field sport, do more power cleans, do more power snatches, do more push presses, do more back squats. Because that's what's going to matter in any sport where you have to actually hit someone or take a hit. Just throwing that out there. But that aside, all this other stuff, it doesn't really matter. And Scott's on the verge of saying it. He wants to say it. You can tell he knows. He already knows. You can tell by the way he's talking and spins it back. He knows this already. He just doesn't want to come out and say it like other people already have, like I even started saying. Isolation movements are a waste of your damn time. They're a waste of your damn time. If isolation movements were so good, then why do bodybuilders who do 30 sets of curls every week, use grams of gear, growth hormone, and IGF-1, still have to shoot oil in their biceps? Clearly, these curls aren't working, or they wouldn't be filling them full of oil on top of it, because the curls and the drugs aren't getting it done. Just throwing that out there as a little caveat. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.